If I could, prior to calling the meeting to order, folks on the Board of Finance, if they could just let us know who's on the phone.
Well, I must have sent the second one.
Anna Ryder.
Anna? Adam?
Yeah, it had to be around.
BJ? Is there anyone else from the Board of Finance that's on the phone? Okay. And then from the Board of Selectmen, we've got Tim here. Mary Jo or Chris, are you on the phone? Okay. Very good. So with that, I will call the March 23rd, 2021 Board of Finance meeting to order at, call it 7:05. First order of business is Jude Reed she let me know that she is not going to be here tonight, and she asked that Matt Olson sit in her stead as the voting member. So we'll seat Matt. Thank you very much. And then the first order of business is General Government Tax Collector's Office. And what I'd like to do is, this is skipping ahead just a tiny bit. Nicole and I had talked about various scenarios because we do have some open items tonight. And so she was kind enough to put together a number of different scenarios so that ultimately tonight we can set the mill rate with some confidence. Again, if there's a swag of $5,000, it doesn't really make a difference because we round a little bit anyway. So hopefully by the end of the evening we can end up with what we'd hope to accomplish, which is setting the mill rate. So with that, the first item is Tax Collector's Office, which was the difference of several $1,000s, but I know that there had been some discussion about solidifying that number. And Tim, you had your Board of Selectmen meeting today.
Yeah, I presented what I worked on, I guess it was around the 11th, and Mary Jo, I guess, she was at a meeting with the tax people, and I thought we came up with what would be the plan. There was some subsequent work on it. There's a different number. It was a very confusing spreadsheet that I really couldn't follow, but when I adjusted the compensation for an assistant to be a little higher based on the Frank's salary schedule, my number is 110,006 approximately, and the other one's 116,900, but it didn't display the minutia of where it is, so I'm $3,500. I can't understand where those other dollars would be, but essentially from where we started, we were gave more hours to the assistant and kept the second assistant at, so I think the salary numbers are in concert now between, I guess, Mary Jo's number and my number. The differences are in the other expenses, the non-salary expenses, so whether you want to do one number or the other number,
the figure that I've got that Nicole had suggested was 114,000, so kind of halfway between 114,119, which I think was part of that the spreadsheet comparison between. I think there were four different.
I guess that's the fourth version floating around.
Right. Yeah. So, are you good with that number, the 114?
Yeah, I guess I can catch up with all the line items, but I think I think so long as the salaries are properly there, then we can go back and see where the other things are, the other items, and if it's not needed, it won't be spent.
Right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion for $114,119 for the tax collector's office.
So moved.
Second.
Russell and Olson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of $114,119 for a tax collector's office, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thanks. All right. So that is 114,119. Great. Boards and commissions, ethics commission was something that I think also has been resolved, right?
Well, I think at our last meeting, I had talked with Jane Cable, the chairman, and suggested that the administrative, instead of being $1,000, be reduced to $500 because they don't usually do a lot of minutes and so forth. So she was okay with that. So the gross figure would be leaving her legal review number intact. I'll get to that, but it would be $4,890. 4,890, and I think we talked about it the last meeting I attended, which was 2 weeks ago, that they be allowed to spend of the legal for code revision $2,000 to have their attorney, this attorney that they want to use, do a comparison and make a recommendation that we would all review, and if everyone concurred, the Board of Selectmen, and I guess principally the Board of Selectmen would look at the recommendations, and if it's satisfactory to proceed with doing the revisions to the ordinance, fine. If not, we'd have to come back and talk about it. But it would essentially be a gate to go through before having the full $2,600 almost available and used.
So, what's the proposal for the Board of Finance? Is it the 4890?
4890 with the provision that of that legal of 2,590, that only 2,000. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. That's a heck of a lot of it, isn't it? I guess it would be that the 8 hours for.
Well, Nicole, is there
I
clarification?
just want to make a comment. Are you looking at this sheet?
The 4890 is the one that I have seen a couple of times, most recently.
And the whole legal process would be 2,590, but.
Well, if you add that sheet down, it doesn't equal 5,390. If you add 2,590, 800, and 1,000, it equals 4,390.
4,390.
Right. So you're lower than.
Oh.
For the breakdown.
Yeah. I mean, if you add the breakdown, that's what you come up with. So
if we subtracted 500 off that administrative number, that would make it even less than.
Is that administrative number in your
Did you
calculation, Nicole?
Admin at 500 or 1,000?
the 500 isn't. No,
Okay.
You have to back into it because it's a salary. It's a wage number.
Well, she had $1,000.
I know, but that's just the number she came up with. I have to put it on the salary sheet, so I have to somehow back into it. And I can back into like $985 of it, but I can't tell you off the top of my head how much.
You mean the $17 stuff and all that?
Right.
Oh,
It's,
right. So if we can, just for expedience, 4890 is the total.
no, 4,390 is the total.
And that includes how much for the admin?
That includes 1,000 for the clerk, 800 for advertising, and 2,590 for legal.
Is that what you and Jane talked about, Tim?
That's Jane's proposal. She just didn't add it
Right,
down.
but
I see.
She didn't put it down.
You want to make the admin a more specific number, right?
No, I can just kind of add $5 here and there.
All right, Tim, you have to break the news to Jane. Your math didn't add
Well,
up, and 4390 is the number.
If we do not have the admin at 1,000, but cut it back to 500, that's going to change the 4390, will it not?
That would further reduce the
It would,
4390.
Yep.
Because they probably only meet 4 times a year and so forth, and
Yeah.
often if they have nothing to consider, they don't even wouldn't need a clerk to make 2 minutes.
Why
But you
don't we
have
do
to
this?
have a clerk,
Yeah.
especially with the ethics committee, because you can't have the members doing their own minutes, because one member hears one thing, one member hears another. I just don't think that's,
The definition of irony.
yeah. Especially in the ethics commission, I just,
Right.
Well,
So if I may make a suggestion, let's keep the proposal as Jane has it, which totals up to $43.90. And again, to your point, Tim, if it's used, it's used. If it's not, it's not.
well, let's have 8 hours of the 14 hours be available for this initial report from an attorney that would come back and we can see, because we're not even sure that the ordinance needs to be revised. That's one person's opinion, but
Understood, yeah. But let's provide the $43.90 tonight, and then you can give direction ex post facto and
yeah, all
deal
right.
with it.
That's
So
long as it would be.
with that, and so you got the 3-line item detail, right?
right,
Nicole?
right.
So I'll entertain a motion for $4,390 for the Ethics Commission.
So moved.
Anna, is there a second? Second? BJ.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Public safety is perfunctory, right? Because it ended up being the $154,200 no increase. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I will entertain a motion for $154,200 for Valley Shore Communication.
No, isn't it 152,700?
Yes, it's 152,700.
I'm sorry.
Because Nicole put a small increase in there.
Yes,
So
I
I'll
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yep.
I'm happy to make the motion for $152,700 for Valley Shore
Okay.
Communications.
Russell, is there a second?
Second.
Olson?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of $152,700 for Valley Shore Communications, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Very good. Motion carries. Okay. All right. So with that, we do have some other business, and I would entertain a motion to move other business up in the agenda to our next agenda item. Garvin?
Second.
Russell? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of moving other business up, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, very good. Motion carries. All right, so other business. We've got a number of items, and we do have some guests here tonight. So we've got Dave Roberge, who's going to talk a little bit about emergency management services, and we've got, I think, in total, and there's a little crossover here with fire too. There are two items. One is a $60,000 item, and the other is $6,000 item. And then we've also got police body camera storage to talk about. The administrative fee to the town of Lyme is a revenue item, so I don't think we have to vote on that, right? It's just kind of informative. So
Right, and I don't know that we really have a, I think,
it's not evolved.
yes,
so.
we have not gone anywhere with
Yeah. And then in addition to that, we've got the Grassy Hill road bridge to discuss as well tonight potentially. So
If I might add also, I can bring up data on the Soundview sidewalk bid and so forth. And so in October, we had talked about some additional non-grant type money. So I could just finish that up.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what we'll do is have Dave, if you want to come up, and we'll get you through your stuff first.
Very distinguished.
Yeah, didn't have time to shave this morning.
Good evening. I brought Lieutenant Carmonti from the Old Line Fire Department, who's been working as lead on the firewall program through ISO and the recent reevaluation.
Yep.
He and I have been going back and forth through that whole process. And what we found...
Dave, just a moment. This is the $6,000 item.
Yes.
And when Chief Super presented, they were going through a firewall inventory of some sort, or and then it brought up the question, you've got $6,000 as a request as well. So, and this is for the benefit of folks on the phone too, in terms of are we duplicating efforts, that sort of thing. So we're talking right now the $6,000 item, and then we've got a $60,000 item subsequent to talk
Totally
about. That's
separate.
EMS. Yeah, totally separate. Okay.
So, Lieutenant, you want to bring them up to speed if you haven't already on the firewall conditions?
Yeah, if you-
We're working on it. Come on up.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thanks.
So on the, as you guys remember, we came to you guys last February, about just over a year ago, for the firewalls, some fire hose we needed to meet the bare minimum standard for ISO, which is essentially it's an insurance audit. It sets the rating for the town to determine everyone's insurance premiums. We've done that audit. We've submitted everything. We're still waiting on results for it. COVID slowed everything down with that. But we're looking, that's now every 5-year audit. So now we're trying to look ahead from what we've learned that we're weak in, to get our rating even lower and to stay current with all the new standards coming out. The signs were a bare minimum to get us to just pass and we have certified firewalls to get them count towards the certification. If we didn't have any of the certified firewalls signed or anything, they wouldn't count as certified at that point, which would be a huge hit for the town, and we'd probably see the rating go way up. So that was the bare minimum. Now we're looking at 5 years out what to get us to, even when they change the standards, or to better our standards and get hopefully our rating even down more. So what we've come to find out is a lot of the firewalls, we have I think 104 of them currently right now in town. And as building developments come and go, there's new firewalls getting installed. So what we found is the firewall system that we've been using, it's probably been in place since the 70s. A lot of the firewalls are old handshake agreements with the property owners from way back when they originally established it.
So no easements or anything? It's just-
Nothing really legit.
Nothing formal.
Yeah. We found a lot of that out when installing the firewalls. A lot of people didn't even know what they were. What are you doing? They had them. They were some were maintaining them, mowing them, keeping them weed whacked. Some weren't. They were letting them get overgrown. And we worked with Ed to get most of the properties that were not on private property maintained. But we're running into. We found that during this whole process. And then we found that we have, I want to say it's 23 certified firewalls out of our 104. The rest of them counted, but very little towards the credit. The certified firewalls make up a big bulk of our fire protection load, which are mostly on the north side of town around Rogers Lake. And the state boat launches and stuff count as certified. Those really make up for not having a fire hydrant system in town. Down by Soundview, we have a fire hydrant system, so it's not so critical down there. But the rest of the town where we're missing, we got some big gaps. So we're hoping to, over the next 4 years, 10 years, as each audit comes, learn a little bit more and hopefully better our firewall system for the protection of the town and the taxpayers in town.
So get more certified.
Yep.
You got 104,
Yep.
of which 23 are certified right now. The goal is if we do some
Continue
more
to-
work, spend some money, we can get those certified, and it could reduce our insurance rating.
And
Yep.
looking at the responsibilities between the fire marshal's office and the fire department.
That's the question that we have as a Board of Finance, because you guys have money to do X, Y, and Z, PDQ.
Yep.
You've got,
I'm asking for
QRS,
6 grand to do A, B,
TUV.
C.
The
Yep.
question was, have you guys talked, and are we duplicating? And so tell us about that.
It's not a duplication. The fire marshal's office is responsible for the code enforcement of the standards. So firewall maintenance, firewall function, firewall design all falls under the purview of cemented PA standards that fall under the fire marshal's office.
Okay.
Working with the fire department, I think, going back and forth with Jim here, we've had a good dialogue and we're both on the same page of recognizing what needs to be done short-term, long-term. Being able to partner up with the fire department and take this on as a combined project. Obviously, I have the code enforcement aspect of it, the daytime meeting time aspect of it. They have the volunteer and the labor part of it. Being able to work together on this and start taking the 104 locations, categorizing those out into, as Jim said, fully functional or certified, what's close to being certified that we can plan for, what needs maintenance just to be functional, and what we shouldn't even be looking at as a firewall.
So fire department and fire marshal have talked. You guys are good. This $6,000 is incremental to what you guys are already doing.
Yep.
And you're in agreement that something needs to happen. Don't know whether 6,000 is the right number or not.
No, but it's a starting point to
Starting
be able
point,
to.
that sort of thing,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
That was the biggest question that we had.
Yep.
And so now it's clear that you guys have talked, and the work is going to benefit the town. It's to the tune of $6,000.
Yeah.
A question that I have, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the Board of Finance, is the $6,000 for fire marshal, right? What is that actually for?
Being able to, once working and combining or reevaluating their list, taking a look at what is certified, having a fire protection specialist come in and confirm the status in relation to does it firmly qualify for an ISO rating, and then going to the next step of barely, possibly certifiable, what has to be done. Also, costs for a hydrogeologist and structural engineer to be able to determine water capacity and water capability.
So it's third-party stuff.
Mostly it's third-party stuff.
Okay.
Dave, do you want to mention South Shore Landing? Problem there?
Yeah, here's an example. And also looking at it, I'm trying to get the legal aspect where the town and the fire department have the legal right to be able to go in that. So there would be some cost, or be some expenditure against having an attorney work with us also in parts. An example of this is 230 Shore Road. 230 Shore Road's an abutting property. On one side of the property you have a dry hydrant system set up to protect that building and the adjacent area buildings. During their ISO rating, they went down to test the pumping and see if they draw off it, and they couldn't draw off of it. The water supply comes from the adjacent property behind on the next parcel. So we have a commercial property owner who has this in place that's non-functional. We have another commercial property behind with this great pond that we can't draw off of. And there's no real legal agreement set between the parties on who has permission, what's expected, what's anticipated, what's maintained, who maintains. None of that exists. It's as Jim said, it goes back to the old school of
handshaking.
Yeah. Okay. And I think in the 21st century, with ISO being so critical on everything, being able to turn around in 5 years, formulate out a file to show, here's our certified ones, here's the geology report, or the hydrogeology report saying the water's meeting the requirements. Here's the land use agreement, or the agreement between the municipality and the property owner on accessibility and use. Here's an anticipated maintenance schedule that whatever does, and just start to put this
If you
together.
want to do any work on something that's a handshake and somebody's going to be a stick in the mud,
Yeah.
you need to formalize
Yep.
it. So,
Yeah. And I think this is a starting, this 6,000 is a starting point to be able to start formulating this and getting it within,
right, you got a big spreadsheet
Yeah.
of,
it's all over the place.
of 81 wells that you don't know where they stand and that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
whether they need to be formalized. And that
Yeah,
sort
we
of
use
thing.
a system that actually we break it down whenever someone does an inspection. You fill in its status, any remarks to it, its location, document pictures of it, and those get done annually.
Yeah.
And then whenever you pump a firewall, you document it as well.
And I got originally brought into this when they were out testing 230 Shore Road. They informed me that it's dry as can be and they can't draw. What's the farmer's responsibility? My responsibility is making sure that if they have firewalls out there, that they operate within the code. So
Yeah.
I was the point of contact back and forth with the property owner. I was back and forth with our legal counsel. I'm kind of the point person on the code side. They're the function and the utilization side, and that's how this whole thing started.
Okay. So, let me open it up to questions. Tim, do you have a question or a comment?
Is the certification a requirement to have permission from the landowner? Is that each well certified must have an agreement with whomever the land belongs to, unless it's a town road?
There was points for having documentation for easement or the right to use it on ISO, so you did get points for it, but it was also more just to cover if we're out there at 2 in the morning, something ever happened that.
A practical matter.
Yeah. So, or if someone wanted to say we're going to a structure fire and they want to say, yeah, no, you can't use my driveway to access that firewall. We got a house burning, 2 houses down. It was more to cover us on that side as well. So
There's so many things from the past that hung on handshakes. And with the way ISO went through and reevaluating the fire protection system in town, it would only be a benefit down the road to continue this.
Yeah,
and
just
keep
formalizing
working with it.
everything. It makes
So
sense.
we're looking to have that as startup money to be able to wrap our arms around this and be able to, this time next year, to be able to come back and say, this is what we've proven, this is what we've got, this is where we want to go to the next step. And it'll be a cooperative effort between the fire marshal's office and the fire department.
Okay, that's great. Andy?
So the 23 wells that are certified, those are certified as part of the ISO inspection?
yeah, so they were certified back in the original inspection, which was done in 91 or
Okay.
91 or 93, and they were done by, I believe, Todd Macknick, if I remember correctly. And we have 23, a lot of them being Rogers Lake area, some on Apple Tree, so they're in the north side. The one certified on the south side was actually 230 Shore Road, which wasn't a functional road. So, but they are part of that, so part of the 104.
So there's obviously a lot,
Yeah.
even within those 23. I didn't realize that was 11 years ago, or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
So things change when
Yeah.
you're dealing with just, in some cases, a hole in the ground.
They technically still consider them as certified, even though it was almost 30 years ago when they were certified.
Okay.
But there's been changes to the code that they have to, the standpipes down at Rogers Lake aren't adequate for what we need them now.
Yeah.
The head clearance at Rogers Lake isn't adequate for the taller, bigger trucks now. So we're going to run into issues if we were lucky, COVID was virtually done. So we didn't have to go physically demonstrate we can move so many gallons of water per minute. But 5 years from now, they could actually say, hey, spot inspection, we want you to go to this firewall, and we want you to move this many gallons of water per minute to this location.
Yeah.
And we'll have to demonstrate it, but we learned a lot doing this, and it was sort of an eye-opener seeing that it was 27 to 30 years ago since we last did it. And the equipment it's old, it's outdated, and there's a lot of things that, like the handshake agreements for the right to use, that just nowadays, if someone ever got hurt or anything like that ever happened as well. So
I would think you'd end up with a lawyer that would write up a standard agreement and just here, this is whose lands it's on, it's
And that's
firewall number 72, the sign's there.
that's one of the approaches, or one of the fork approaches.
So it's
that we're
not
looking
like-
at.
And it was a lot of educating the homeowners when we were out doing the signs. A 5-minute sign install turned into an hour and a half talking to the homeowner, teaching them what it's used for, explaining how important it is to have it cleared and don't block with your vehicles. We had homeowners trying to put boulders in front of it. And so it was a lot of educating the homeowners as well. So
Well, again, I know one of the questions when you go to get homeowners insurance is how far is a fire hydrant?
Yep.
I don't know if a certified fire well counts As a hydrant?
Yep, when the insurance calls the chief, that's what we use as a fire hose.
Okay. I would think that's the selling point for somebody keeping the boulders away from it and,
Yep.
you know.
So that's the purpose for the $6,000.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
Thank you for
obviously
that.
it's great that you involve Public Works in it too to, you know,
They've been a huge asset.
That's
It's
great.
been great.
So, in regards to the $60,000?
Yeah, any other questions for anybody on the phone about the $6,000 item for fire marshal?
I don't have any.
Okay, great. We can move on, yeah.
All right.
I'm sorry, BJ?
None.
Okay. Adam, you're good? Okay, we're good.
All right.
So, on to the 60.
Due to COVID, due to COVID and the delays in designs, receiving materials, shipping, transporting, and everything else, I think at this time it's best benefit for me to request that we just remove that from this year's budget,
The 60.
the 60,
Okay.
for the communications.
Okay.
Make it nice and easy for you. There's no,
Yeah.
I don't anticipate being able to complete that project within the timelines of the year with all the delays that I'm still hearing about.
Right. And if it does happen to happen,
I can
come
always
back
come
to
back
us.
and ask for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And we'll figure it out.
but that's the repeater
Yes,
in Essex.
yes.
That's going to help fill in.
Yep, we're still focusing and working with the fire company and EMS to be able to fill that radio void from Halls Road up 156 all the way up to Bill Hill Road. That's still a big dead area in there. But looking at this, and you know, this project was planned a year and a half ago,
Right.
and then with COVID hit, we couldn't get supplies, we couldn't get materials.
Yeah.
I'm speaking with my distributors and my producers now, and they're still saying that, you know, if it's coming from China, if it's coming from Japan, it's still sitting in a boat someplace.
Yeah.
Or you can anticipate it being that way.
Yeah.
So do you have hard costs on what it's going to take to complete it? I mean, is the 60 just kind of a placeholder?
It's
Or
about
are there...
about 54,000 based on 2018 numbers.
Well, I guess I'd go out and
Yeah,
Yeah, if you can refresh
refresh that because
Exactly.
we have a 5-year capital plan, so it's
Yeah.
important for us to know, great that it's not going to happen now because you don't think it can get done, but what about next year is how
Yeah.
that'll fit in. So that'd be great.
so when it comes budget time next year, to be able to work
But
with
even
more
sooner,
accurate numbers.
honestly,
Yeah.
even
Okay.
by the fall, that'd be good to,
Yeah, I'll put it on my long list of things.
yep.
long list. Right.
Anything else? Any other questions on that?
I think we're good.
Okay, real quick, we are moving forward with the COVID reimbursements. The snow removal, or the storm removal from Storm Isaias is up to about $115,000 in total claim. We're looking at a 75% return on that. We anticipate that being somewhere between probably 4 to 12 weeks out from going through all the reviews that FEMA has to do. We're currently working back on the COVID third quarter and fourth quarter of 2020. We anticipate those being done probably within another 6 weeks. And if you've heard through the grapevine that the federal government approved and signed off on the American Rescue Plan, $2.6 billion is estimated to come to the state of Connecticut. Out of that estimated number and anticipated distribution, the town of Owline is in line to receive about $721,000 in change for COVID-related expenses moving forward.
Just blank check. Here's 721.
There's
You don't
no-
have to have receipts and all that.
There's no guidance, because it's a pass-through through the state, there's no guidance come out yet, there's no restrictions to come out yet, there's no
So don't lick
rules
our
of
chops
engagement.
quite yet.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and if you like
That was the number that we had talked about, I think, last week.
Yeah, it was in the paper last
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it looks impressive when you read it, but there's no rules of engagement with it or whatever, so it's still all hanging out there. Nicole, I haven't seen anything come down from OPM.
Yeah.
No.
And now the 100+ grand that you just talked about, that is
Yes.
in the works.
Yes.
75% reimbursement.
Yes.
We got it documented, that sort of thing.
Yeah. The only thing I'm still working on that one is getting our volunteer services and donated resources together.
Quantified and all that stuff. Yeah.
The advantage of that is it offsets that 25%.
Right.
So instead of having $100,000 and getting back 75, it increases our total submittal to 125,000.
At 75, so the absolute
We're
dollars
actually
go
getting
up.
back 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're working with those. That's it.
Great. Thank you both for,
Thank you.
for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
that.
out.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay, so this is under capital, and we had approved last week $454,150 for capital expenditures. So with the explanation of the 6,000 and the reduction of the 60,000 request, we've got a couple of other items to talk about for capital that include the Grassy Hill Road Bridge, which I'll let Tim talk about, and then we've got the body camera issue as well, which I don't know where that stands at all.
I mean, that's not really for capital, is it?
No, it's not capital.
That's, because that's storage, that's.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
mean,
operational.
Body cameras themselves were capital, but that's operational.
yeah, and we'll
That's gonna be ongoing.
right.
Yeah.
So you capitalize that. I mean,
But
that's like
it's 60 grand or.
that's the
whatever.
equivalent of
Feels
like
like
$1
a capital.
million
Yeah.
net present value, you know. So at any rate, concretely, we've got the Grassy Hill Road Bridge, and then we'll get to the
Yeah.
body cameras and figure out whether we just let that sit until it shows up quantified and that sort of thing. So.
Well, going back, the Board of Selectmen probably 6 weeks ago, we looked at the idea of proceeding with the full replacement or the possibility of a redecking and new sidewalls on the thing and not really doing much with the actual bridge. And the redecking would probably run $250, $300, and you'd add that to the engineering that we've done, and that is about $100, so it would be $350 or $400 to redeck it. The $600 and change would be the brand new thing at 50%. I think I don't have my stuff here, but I think we calculated it'd be, about $125,000, $130,000 a year, Nicole, to squirrel away for 2 years with the money that we've already allocated toward it. And it would require, say, roughly $150,000 for each of 2 years to muster the $600.
So two options are brand new bridge, we get some reimbursement.
The third option,
Yeah.
which is to say, this it's a project that may not be essential, such as the Mile Creek one. I think we were almost under an order to do that, and then this came along because there was availability. So if the decision is to a very tough budget year, we probably would do the work in 2023, so you'd have 22 and 23 to squirrel up for it. But if we said, look, it's going to be ugly, let's not do it, then you just stay with what you have. And it's, as I mentioned, I think before when we talked with Todd Macknick, he said that the bridge part is okay. The masonry walls on the side are not terrific, but it's not a high-speed bridge and so forth. When the river runs, it can run very vigorously. But probably right now you would not see anything going under the bridge practically. So the selectmen, we talked about it. I personally think we could push it and keep the engineering on the shelf in case something changes. That you risk that whenever we would want to do it, if we ever do, the 50% wouldn't be available. But if we're, looking at these sheets, why, it's not terrible news, but, we're adding a couple things. So that is, that's the third option.
So was there a conclusion from the Board of Selectmen about a recommendation to the Board of Finance on it?
We did not come out with a recommendation to do nothing.
So I guess my view would be, if there's not a concrete recommendation from the Board of Selectmen at this time, and there could be in 2 more weeks or whenever it happens, we've still got time for the overall budget. But you've got 3 options. It would seem like it would be best for the Board of Finance not to make the decision. The Board of Selectmen should make the decision. And then we should provide for whatever that decision is after some debate.
I think the second option, the redecking, is probably not worthwhile. For the marginal cost, you get a brand new bridge and a revised intersection and so forth. The trouble with that is, the second option is that likely there would be no 50% match.
Right, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So if that was 400 or 450?
Well, with the engineering we spent,
The engineering's a sunk cost, just like it's done, it's
right.
spent,
It's there.
forget about it.
Right,
It's
we
what
can
money
have it,
do we
it's
want to
already
spend
there.
forward,
and that engineering, it would probably have a longevity to it for a good while.
Yeah.
The bridge isn't going to change that much. But, so I think we could put it on the agenda for our next meeting, which will be a couple of weeks, as you say, and revise the cost estimate between where we are and where we'd have to go in terms of the extra money to get to the 600.
Now, a question in terms of timing is the estimates for the cost. Do those need to be revisited again? Will that take some time such that it pushes it out again? So we don't want to make a decision without definitive costs that either are definitive or can be grown at some rate of inflation for construction costs and that sort of thing.
I think the engineer did put some inflationary figures in there. I'll check with him to make sure when we're talking 23, that's one more year on top of what the earlier thing is. The DOT has not expressly said you're good to go. We got a verbal from the person saying, I don't think there'd be a problem getting the extra money, which is almost double. It went from our cost of 3 and change to 6 and change, so it's virtually a double. So
we have in writing from the DOT, I think, for like 670 or whatever it was originally. When Bonnie got,
And
she got 2 agreements.
They paid half of the 670.
Right, and so that is in writing. But we don't, now that the cost has doubled magically for the 8-foot bridge, but whatever, we don't have anything in writing either. So to make that assumption is a leap of faith. I mean, you're dealing with the state, and who knows? So.
And of course, as we've been hearing, the cost of materials during this COVID thing has gone up a lot. So the various materials in the bridge could might come down in a couple of years too, but
and I'll ask folks on the phone if they've got any comments or questions. But my personal view is the Board of Selectmen should come up with a suggested course that the Board of Finance can then react to. That would be most helpful. So, does anyone on the phone have any comments or questions about the Grassy Hill Bridge?
This is BJ. My question, Tim, is this. You've been told by Maxic, I guess, that the structure of the bridge is okay today. But do you have any information regarding how long that will remain true? In other words, if we didn't replace the bridge today because it's in okay condition, what is the projected lifespan of it before it would have to be replaced?
During I don't know, a couple of years ago, there were some emergency repairs
2 years ago.
to the cylinders. So they have been rehabilitated. And Todd said that, you know, that part of the structure should be pretty satisfactory. If you have...
He did the work, too.
In a flood condition, water will overflow the bridge and go into the lake. But it's done that in the past and so forth. So I think the guts of it are fairly sound, and it's not like it's delaminating and so forth. The problem was the tubes there were a couple of pipes that were mated, and then because they were separating or there was issues, water was cavitating under there, and so he had to open it from the top and put magic stuff around the joints, and that helped out a whole lot.
But BJ's simple question is, if the Board of Selectmen comes back to the Board of Finance, it would be helpful to know somebody's view of whether the bridge, if we did nothing with it for the next 20 years, check that box, or hey, it's going to be 3 years. And
all right, they could speculate on that.
Is that fair? Is that fair, BJ? Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's exactly right. I hate to leave $600,000 of the safe money on the table. On the other hand, I hate to spend $600,000 of our dollars that we don't need to for 10 years or 15 years.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But, so the difference between redecking, the cost to the town, the taxpayers, the difference between redecking it and redoing it,
About 150,
that's the difference.
I think so.
That's if
If
state agrees to
well,
do it. Yeah.
if the price is the price, based on,
2 years from now.
right, and if the state agrees. So I think those are two important factors in making a decision.
Yeah.
If it's 150 grand
Yeah.
to the taxpayers of Old Line,
And there's no risk.
kind of on,
Yeah.
you know, what BJ's saying, you hate to leave the 600,000 or whatever it is hanging out there from the state. If it's available, we've already invested money in it for the engineering part.
Yeah.
That's 100% ours. And so I think getting satisfaction that, it will last 10 years. I mean, the state went around and inspected bridges all over the place. Where did that one fall?
4 out of 9.
A what?
4 out of 9.
And I assume 9 is the best?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's...
Why not 10?
They couldn't afford the extra digits. Okay. And how long ago was that done?
I thought the delta was $300,000 between decking and our share of the new bridge.
Well, 100 we spent, and say 300 new is 400.
That's for the decking. The decking would be. Well, let's take it for.
I thought the decking was 250 to 3, and our share of the new bridge was 6.
Yeah, and then the initial engineering's in there too, you know.
But that's in both cases.
That's done.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll come back to us after some discussion. It may or may not get resolved in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, Anna?
This is Anna.
Yeah.
So I've been reading some of the Board of Selectmen minutes just over the past few months, and there was one, I think it was March 1st, that the Board of Selectmen voted to recommend to proceed with the project with the numbers they agreed at that meeting to the Board of Finance. What happens at that, Tim? Did you guys discuss it again? And I didn't see another vote taken. But it looks like you guys agreed and voted to go ahead and just do the bridge.
I thought it was more than 3 weeks ago, but the board did recommend going with the full replacement. And we discussed not doing anything, but the consensus was to, we agreed to recommend the full thing. I think part of it is if the bridge is sound and it would last for a while, some of the guidance might be, do we want to shoulder the extra delta to get to the 600 each year, or do we want to, calm down because we're in a tight financial situation. So I guess we can go back, get from.
Yeah, maybe it's back in February. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you've already voted on it, I think then we have an obligation as the Board of Finance to just fund it. So, because I totally agree with Dave that if that's what the Board of Selectmen wants to do, then we need to figure that out. So maybe for next week, since we can trim some time off of it without you having to go back to the Board of Selectmen, if you could just review your notes from those February meetings and figure out what was approved, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I guess the other consideration, I didn't read the minutes, I wasn't at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, but we've got, Anna, our next meeting is the public hearing on April 19th. So this is kind of our wrap-up right now. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't add things and have special meetings and that sort of thing. But I think Andy brings up a very good point. We don't know the number for a complete replacement. So Board of Selectmen can vote to, recommend a space shuttle project, to the Board of Finance. But if there's no definitive number and a way to finance it, if the state hasn't agreed to the 1.2 million, I think that there are a lot of variables right now that the Board of Finance would consider. But to your point, if the board, if the Board of Selectmen had voted to recommend the project, 4 weeks ago or whenever it was, we'd have more time to kind of consider those very important elements of what is the cost and how is it going to get paid. If we're finding out now that it's been voted, but it was kind of like a half-hearted vote or whatever it was, I don't know the nature of that vote. We should explore that a little bit, and we do have time.
I just looked it up. It says a motion was made by Selectman Kerr, seconded by Selectwoman Nozel, to recommend to the Board of Finance to proceed with the project submitted by Jacobson Construction. Upon confirmation of the numbers discussed at this meeting, motion passed. So there were apparently numbers discussed. Those didn't make it into the vote, the record vote. But I'm a little disappointed that we're still talking about this when clearly a vote was taken. And to your point, we do need a number in order to put it into the budget.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to entertain a motion to approve. How much? $592,000?
Well, no, we have 592 is in the current year's capital budget
For
the Grassy Hill Road Bridge.
Right. Okay. So
we had 100 prior to that.
Yeah. If
we've before we go for the state
that
money.
Should be enough.
Well, but we have to approve the gross amount. Correct?
Andy, here's what I'm going to do. I will entertain a motion for $592,000. Unless that's already, what you're saying is that's already been approved.
That's in the current year's budget. That's in this year's budget.
Yeah, it's already there.
But we as a town typically approve the gross 1.2 million and then show the money back from the state as income. Just as we did with the Mile Creek Bridge.
Yeah,
I think we would have to approve.
Anna, realistically, if we were to go down this path and discuss it tonight as a Board of Finance, it's going to get turned down, I would think, because we don't know how much it costs, and we don't know that the state has agreed to $1.2 million. We agreed last year to $592,000, which was the gross amount that we understood the project to be at that time,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I think that this is such a large project for such a small bridge. This has, lots of people should probably weigh in on this, and I would be supportive of having it be kind of a standalone thing that comes up in August or September or October as it evolves, as we get those solid numbers and we get some assurances or not assurances from the state about what the funding could be. That's my personal view, and then I'll open it up to anyone else, that has a comment.
I mean, I'm just, if I can go first, I would agree, Dave. I think we should, Board of Selectmen's recommending we go forward with it. I think we need to get new information as to what the cost would be, new information from the state as to whether what percentage they'll reimburse of the project. We've budgeted almost $700,000 over the last 2 years towards it, come up with the hard number that the town would have to approve, even though we'd probably get reimbursed for whatever needs to be spent, but then take it to town meeting.
It's a 50% program.
If the 50% holds and it's a $1.2 million bridge still, we'd be basically not really using old line taxpayer money, even though we'd have to approve the expenditure, but we could confidently, with the estimates and a letter from the state saying, yeah, we'll give you 50% on this project, estimated to be 1.2 million.
Some of the money was from the state, and some of it's from a line that's in this mass of money that's been accumulating. So that's why I was trying to separate that out to see how much is our money and how much is the state money. And that's where Nicole and I talked about some of the what would be required over the next 2 years to have the full contingent. From an accounting standpoint, we have to have the full expenditure in capital, and then the 50% coming in revenue.
Right. But to do that, I think we'd all feel more comfortable with better numbers in terms of construction and an assurance that we would get the 50% back.
Yeah, so what I'd ask is, because my point is a process point. So Anna has brought up the Board of Selectmen passed a motion to recommend something that is not fully vetted, to be fair, to the Board of Finance. It wasn't effectively brought up to us when subsequent to the passage at the Board of Selectmen. So we are kind of where we are right now. And I would offer that to the group for additional comments. We can absolutely have a motion to pass, the number as we know it right now, with no assurance from the state that we're going to get the money, and then go through that discussion and then have a vote on it. I just don't have confidence that would pass, but anyone is welcome to make a motion.
I mean, I think that we already have the money in the budget from this year, so I think, and I looked through, I found the minutes where the numbers were actually discussed, and they said that the complete project estimated at $1.227 million with a 50% grant would cost the town $613,500, which we've already taxed people on. So I think
no, but Anna,
if 50% grant exists, then we're okay with this project happening because we already put the money in it. Like we've already
Anna,
we already included the 592 this year. So
no.
I think.
But the 592 is the gross. We have to budget the gross expenditure. The 592 is what we thought it was going to be last year. So yes, we've approved 592, but the new number that came in where everybody fell off their chair was 1.2 million. And so that was, a few months ago or whenever it was. So we.
Still there? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, are you guys here? Anna, can you hear me?
Yeah, you just cut out for a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that. So the 592 relates to what we thought the gross number was, and it's more than double that figure. And then on the revenue side, we would budget, whatever the state would reimburse us. So we haven't approved the full amount in.
I see where you're going with it. I imagine a motion wouldn't go very far right now, but I think that if the Board of Selectmen already approved this number and looked through the engineering plans and looked at the options, the 3 options presented tonight, and they decided that they thought that the best course of action was to replace the bridge at the 1.2 million, then, that's our job is to fund that, is to put that into the budget.
Well, it's not to fund it. It's not to fund it.
I understand the view. We would approve it in here. We would put in the 1.2 million and say,
we would or we wouldn't. We would or we wouldn't. So if you want to make a motion for it, then we'll discuss it and we'll figure out. It's not our job to fund things. It's our job to consider what the Board of Selectmen has recommended for for funding and discuss it and vote it up or down.
I think the other piece of
I will make a
the,
motion then that we include $1,227,000 in the Grassy Hill Road Bridge line item in the capital budget.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it because I want discussions, BJ.
Okay, BJ seconds. So, discussion?
So it seems to me that the biggest variable is whether the state is going to reimburse us 50%, and therefore I would approve the motion only if it is subject to the confirmation that the state is going to share 50%. The other variable is whether, in fact, the Board of Selectmen has changed its mind. Obviously, Anna is correct that the Board of Selectmen approved this, but Tim's equivocation at the meeting tonight may raise the question whether the Board of Selectmen is going back on its decision. If that were the case, I'd be happy to hear that in the future.
Okay. Thank you for that, BJ.
I don't know that we need a motion for the 1.2 million because we already have half that money here. I guess you would need a motion, but I'm not comfortable voting for it until we have more concrete estimates. I mean, Tim, when was the 1.2 million? Was that last fall we got that?
Yeah.
And what was that based on? That wasn't based on bids.
No,
That's an construction estimate?
Jacobson Engineering.
Okay.
We revisited, they went from preliminary design to final design and some of that was related to the intersection,
Yep.
road work, not all.
Telephone poles moving.
That was considered to be paid for by the utilities.
Okay.
But indeed, the road and extra fill to make the road proper to go over the bridge and so on.
But my main concern would be the 50% reimbursement. And, that makes such a huge difference because I don't think the townspeople of Old Lyme would be real happy to spend $1.2 million on an 8-foot bridge.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that.
But, that's if we make the vote,
So, any further comments or discussion? Because we've got a motion on the table. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the motion fails. So thank you for that, but it's on our radar, I think, and I think the big issues are out there right now and for consideration. I do think this is a fairly large project that it would be fair to have not buried in the budget process, which is now kind of the resultant of what we just discussed. Not that that has to happen, but so as things develop, the selectmen will consider things in the next couple of weeks, and we'll hear back from you guys. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I do think from a process standpoint, Dave, it illustrates a little bit of a gap in the sense that apparently this was discussed and we didn't have a lot of visibility about a decision from the selectmen. So I think we'll just need to keep that liaison connection strong so that we don't have the gaps.
I think that's fair.
Honest going back
point.
and reading minutes from, I don't know, when February or sometime.
Yeah, that's right. If there's something that the selectmen have considered and voted on and want us to consider, we need to know about it in a timely fashion. That's absolutely.
And we could have asked the questions we asked tonight in February, and maybe we might have
gotten
had more answers. From the state, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get.
Okay, just one other question on
Yeah.
Nicole, based on what we've done so far on this project, have we received any reimbursement from the state? They don't reimburse.
They don't reimburse until they
The
get
soft
notice
cost.
that we're go.
Okay, good, all right.
So, Nicole, anything else for capital beyond those three items, right? So there would be a revision to the capital expenditure number of $6,000. The 454,150 is what we had voted upon. And so I'll entertain a motion to revise the figure for capital expenditures to include the $6,000 for the fire marshal that would end up for a total of $460,150.
But then we're taking the 60,000 out, right?
We are.
It's never in.
It was
One name.
Or was it in
the
there?
454 did not include
Okay, I'm
the
sorry.
60,000.
60 or the 6.
Yeah.
The final number again, please?
$460,150.
Make a motion.
Garvin,
Second.
Russell. Any discussion? Capital expenditures? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of $460,150 for capital expenditures, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Great. So 460150. Garvin, Russell. Excellent. Okay. So, did one of your scenarios capture?
I can get us close.
I know. That was the purpose of, we've got a little bit of cushion, so. All right, so we had moved up other business. We are, let me just check and see, I think we're done with other business.
Body cameras?
Body cameras, we're
Storage.
yeah, that's going to be an operational item, and I think as it evolves, we don't have any additional information on that, right? Or,
All we know is that Matt told us Barracks was not going to do it.
right.
They pushed back. Again, I think the executive order from the governor is going to run out in April unless he renews it, and then we'll have to go back to town meeting.
Right.
So when we're talking about if we do have to pay the 50,
Yeah.
that will be a town meeting, so it'll be over the 20.
Right.
So just so you
But
know
even the
that.
50, we don't. That was kind of like an eyeball number.
Yeah, I think Matt has kind of called, seen what other vendors are going to charge him, but I don't think that's anything final.
Or whether we're going to group with other towns.
Right.
Like there's a lot of different things.
Well, we got a letter from the lieutenant or the colonel of the state police and said, we're not doing dash cam storage, we're not doing body cam storage.
So we're going to lose the body cam storage too?
Or dash cam, rather.
No, but the dash cam.
The letter indicated that. So I talked with Senator Needleman, and he was one who voted for the police accountability, and that's part of it. So I think we got to step it up with cost and our state reps, and the 46 Cooper towns can really try to push back on this and see if the state police might be forced to do this. If they're doing a dash cam and they're not going to do it in the future, that's nice, but all these mandates now become costly to the towns. So
But there's not enough clarity right now for us to even have a swag kind of for the budget.
yeah.
When are the body cams, July 1st? Are they supposed to be in use?
I think so, but
Yes.
I
Is
don't
that the
know.
mandate?
Yeah.
Yes, I think you have to have them by April 1st,
Yeah.
and then have them in use by July 1.
So the body cams, purchasing the body cams, do we need to?
We did that
We did that.
already.
We did that already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that last fall, I think.
Yeah, it would say, let's order them before they're in scarce supply.
Right.
Hey, Tim, has there been any discussion of the storage issue at Rivercog? And if not, should there be?
Yeah, I think any and all, because all those the small towns, well, probably even bigger departments too, would, if the state police could be forced to do it, that would be nice. But they're going to squeak saying, Because it's storage of the data and it's also FOI requests, or the time it takes to retrieve the information, so that's another.
And that's salary and benefits. I mean, that's people.
Yeah.
Have to deal with that, yeah.
But it would seem sensible
I
for
would
the
just
state
think
of
that
Connecticut.
EVERCOG would be a good organization to discuss this, and if there is going to be some joint effort, to be the central organizing principle for that joint effort.
Yeah, that's BJ's suggestion, is RiverCog in addition to small municipalities.
Because probably
Cost or whatever it is.
I'd be surprised if there's one entity that could all of a sudden do all this from scratch.
Right.
And it's going to happen in a quarter, you know. It's kind of nasty.
Well, a few paragraphs on a piece of paper that get passed up in Hartford. What can go wrong? All right. Mill rate discussion. So we had 3 that you had sent, and there's a 4.
Right, but disregard the last 3. The one to look at is the first one. Or no, I'm sorry, the second one.
Did you send that out email, Nicole?
I did like last week.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to have to wing it because nothing's really going to tie out to what I.
Not exactly, but
Right.
it'll be fine. Yeah.
So last year's mill rate was 23.2. If I incorporate the changes that we did here tonight, I would estimate the mill rate would be about 23.5 with no money taken from surplus. If we want to take 300,000 from surplus, you're about 23.34. And if you take 600,000 from surplus, the mill rate's going to go down by maybe 0.15 from the 23.2 where we're at today. There's just 2 things that we're still waiting on. It's the final impact to towns. April 1st, they do a head count, so we'll have that average head count will be revised, and they'll send that. The other thing is BAA adjustments. I know that they do have some. I thought I'd have it today from the assessor. I do not, but the grand list is going to go down to what I'm using up top here on that mill rate calculation.
The grand list is going to go down
Yes, from that number.
from the 1556379.
Well, right, because the BAA won't.
Yeah.
There's people going there to get their values down, and some have been.
I don't think there are any showstoppers in there.
Right.
I
So
don't
it's
have.
not material.
I hope not. I don't have that number,
Yeah.
so I can't say.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's anything
Now,
material.
with this impact to mill rate, that's about 100,000. Is that from the school, the most recent improvement on their impact to the town? Granted, it's not the April student count,
The
but
most current impact to town is factored into this.
And that's as of March 1st student count.
And
But
that's,
But the real impact is the reduced billing we'll see next year
yeah.
based on their
1.7 million they're returning.
1.7 million, of which we get 1.4.
Right, so our billings
But-
went down about 550,000
the
over
sheet
last
that they did on the 11th of March says we would go down 550,000 versus 471. So
Yep,
is that
that's-
550 in here?
That's in there. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the 2 things that are up in the air right now are grand list, which is always up in the air a
Right,
little bit.
right,
So, and then student count, which also is always up
right.
in the air a little bit. Although this year it could actually move a little bit more, but
And
So-
so how much you want to take out of surplus,
and how much we want to take out of surplus. But
if any.
if the grand list may go down a little bit, and it seemed like Ian was telegraphing that we may have a few more students here in Old Lyme and maybe
From
not.
March 1st to.
Yeah. That would warrant a little bit of conservatism in terms of the mill rate, just in case. So
In the
keeping
past,
it to 12.6 that you had suggested maybe is not a bad idea.
Where's
Keeping the 12.6 on your suggested mill rate?
12?
I don't know why.
I'm sorry, 23.6. 23.6.
Oh, okay.
So we're cutting everyone's taxes in half this year.
What do you have a feel for what the percentage of the budget, the surplus, if we didn't do anything, would be?
Yeah, I wrote it down and now I can't find it. It's what I was looking for. I think it's at 6:30. I think it was,
It's like 22 something, wasn't it?
I think it's a little bit higher than that.
Yeah.
It's a little high.
You said, in your email of March 19th, you say at 6/30/2020, our unassigned fund balance was 22.24%
Yep.
for the auditor.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is, some will argue it's on the high side. Some people say we're a coastal town and we need it for FEMA and storms and all that kind of stuff.
In terms of appropriations during the year, is that going to take much out of it?
We've appropriated another additional only $56,000 over the year, so that's pretty low.
56?
Yeah, that's
6,000,
56 or 66?
56
Five.
off the top of my head.
but either one is a
But
small
that's
number
pretty
relative.
low.
yeah, normally we've been, could be as 350,000
Yeah.
or something like that.
Bunch of town
Well,
meetings.
we have this Soundview sidewalk thing I need to talk about, which is not huge, but it's still a little more.
Yeah, well, we should talk about that before, if we're gonna,
Well,
would that impact this year's budget, or would that?
yeah, because they're going to start this thing and finish it by Memorial Day for the most part.
Okay.
Back in October, I can distribute. This is the second page of the memo back in October, but the good news is that the $400,000 construction grant we thought would be insufficient to do both Hartford Avenue and 156 and Cross Lane to the police department. However, the low reliable bid comes in at $269.50. So, and that's for the entire project, all of 156
Wow.
and Hartford Avenue, and some of the private property work behind the sidewalk on Hartford Avenue. So that was very pleasing. So BSC for construction services is $15,000. That is eligible for reimbursement, and $15,000 which is ineligible. And then we put in a contingency of $40,000, which is 10% of the $400,000. So when you're looking at a lower cost, it's probably 15%. So that would leave $84,000 of grant money available should the town wish to ask the DOT to do something else, such as that there was conversation about a bus shelter or a sign of some sort, so that sort of thing. The 84, if it's for approved DOT purposes, we can use the extra money for additional things perhaps. Now, considering what is not fund eligible, the Easy Mart survey work, which actually was paid through the Selectmen's Engineering at this point, is $1,800. The BSC, the second half of their fee to do the project, the legal expense has fit okay into the budget for the Selectmen's budget, because that, when last we looked, was around $3,500, and it's probably closer to $4,500 now. And then a contingency, we don't want to push past 20, but, it's some number that, the contingency above is certainly going to be adequate, and just for any non-eligible thing, small amount. So the project did not have any allocation for non-grant activity. So we figured out how to handle some of these things, but and it's, truly I could leave the survey work in Selectmen's Engineering. It made it go over, but undoubtedly, I think by the end of the year, that Selectmen's budget will be okay, and we could work it in between the line items, couldn't we? Or
Well, but here's my question. In capital this year, we have 400,000 expenditures, in expenditure for the budget for this project. You can fit all of this in that 400,000. We're going to get less in grant revenue,
Right.
but we still won't hit the 400,000 if we
Still
start with
gonna-
the 19.3.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
that'd be good. I just want to keep it clear that we can't mix apples and oranges with state money.
Just
Right.
your net is going to go down.
Right,
Your
so
revenue.
Yeah, well,
Or if you end up deciding to spend that 84,000
yeah.
on something that's
Well,
road
if
related.
that's a satisfactory way to do it, then
Rather than an additional appropriation, we already budgeted for it, and we already budgeted for the income. I mean, it's.
yeah, it'll
Right,
affect-
the income will be less.
Is
That's
it-
where we're
right.
getting.
I guess at the end of the year, there'll be less revenue, so
Right.
it'll show a less favorable on that.
But,
Okay, well,
but why budget?
So that takes care of that. So that is, yeah.
That is good.
Yep. So,
Right?
all right, back to
Can
mill rate.
they do the Grassy Hill Road Bridge?
Yeah.
Can they bid on that?
what's that?
Yeah,
Can they
can
bid
the
on the
guy-
Grassy Hill Road Bridge?
Martin
No,
Lavero.
that was the body store.
Yes. Well, the reason the engineer said this is early in the season.
Yeah, good.
You know, firms, the bids ranged up to, gosh, I'm trying to remember, but they were 600,000 and 700,000, a couple of them, and then there were 3 under the 400,000.
Yeah,
One of
good.
which was excluded because they weren't DOT certified. So,
Great.
this firm has done projects up to $10 million, so it's not just a pickup truck, you know.
Yeah.
It's a and they did a reference check and all that stuff. So, they probably just fit right into their schedule. Let's knock this thing out.
Yep.
Sidewalks. So,
Yep.
it's, you know, not terribly complicated, but so it's a good ending.
Okay, so that's dealt with, and that's outside of budget discussion. So back to mill rate, which doesn't change. So if we have a little bit of cushion in there, your original suggestion had been 23.6 for the mill rate without
Any surplus.
any surplus.
Right. Yeah.
So if folks are looking at the right schedule at the bottom, at 23.6 for the mill rate, that's an increase in the mill rate of 1.75%. If you use 300,000 from surplus, the mill rate goes down to 23.4, and that's a 0.91% increase. And if you had 600,000, it would be, call it 23.2. 23.20, that would be a 0.6% increase if we were to use 600,000 this year. So that is our choice.
That's where it's at. I don't think in prior years we really just kind of discuss it and we kind of.
Yeah, we don't set it.
We don't set it
We
now.
can't set, we set
Can't
it
set
today.
it. Yeah, we set it in May.
after the vote.
But we,
If anybody, we need to know what
we
people
kind of
want
need
do
to
for
know,
surplus.
so you know what you need to present in April at the.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll have the Region 18 real numbers,
Yeah.
Right, so it's
and
just a
we'll have the
surplus to
real
vote on.
BAA number, right? By mid-April, by early April?
I think she has the number for me already.
Okay. So then you'll have the real numbers.
Yeah,
But-
April's 2nd, I'll have real numbers.
I mean, would it make sense to look at, for that purpose, only maybe putting 300,000 from surplus toward the budget to soften the blow. And in the past few years, we've put $600,000 or
We had
This
800.
year
800.
800.
And it's been there for like 5 or 6 or more years.
Yeah.
And we put $600,000 or $800,000 towards it. I think that'd be good to preserve a little more of that surplus, but also to,
Give people a break.
I think we need to at least put some money from
Yeah.
the surplus into this year's budget.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not comfortable asking people to increase by another 1.75
Yeah.
or 1.72. That feels too much to me, especially considering the fact that we have a fair amount in our surplus today, and we may get some money from the state. I mean, obviously we may not, but I'm certainly comfortable and would encourage to at least put some money from surplus
and
towards
maybe
it.
the number's 400,000. After we find out what Region 18's impact is going to be and what the grand list ends up being.
So,
But I wouldn't, at the hearing, that's an informational
that's
session.
informational.
So-
The next opportunity we have to vote as a board without, absent a special meeting is May 17th. So,
It's when, David?
it's May 17th, and that's
But you have your hearing in April.
yeah, but that's an informational to public.
But I mean,
but
it'd be nice to have it all done for that one.
You kind of have to, so I would think we'd have to
historically,
maybe at
that's
least
what we've done.
pick a number from surplus, because Nicole's going to have other numbers that are going to come into her in the meantime that are going to get to the true bottom line.
Yeah. So we can at least set
We can say, okay,
what
Nicole,
consensus
when
will
you
be
figure it
tonight.
out, you
Yeah.
know, here's the surplus number.
Yeah. So
I mean, I guess
we can do that in a vacuum and simply say somebody could make a motion to use some number out of surplus, and we could vote on that tonight, and then that's a set number for Nicole.
and worst case scenario, that could be changed too,
Yeah.
as part of the process, but I'd make a motion to utilize $400,000 from surplus for the fiscal year 21-22 budget.
Mr. Russell? Garvin seconds.
So that would put us at what percentage increase? That would be about a point.
It'd be
400,000 would be, 23.3
0.3 maybe.
ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, depending on how
Yeah.
Region 18,
Yeah.
that could change it
Yeah.
pretty significantly. If we end up with 6 more students, 1% of that budget
Yeah.
is,
So there's a motion on the table
50,000.
to use 400,000 from surplus for, yeah.
I have just a point in here while we're thinking about this. I don't remember, and this is on me because I'm the Parks and Rec specialist, but Don had asked for some money, and I can't find it in capital. Nicole, do you know if that's included in here for him to redo the cross lane
Basketball.
tennis court and basketball court? I think I had told him to take that out because I felt like this year was going to be higher than expected, but
He put half of it in. It's in the transfer out section, which is 210.
okay.
So he put
Okay.
some money in over 2 years to accumulate funds for that.
A fund. Okay, good. But yeah, I think that I think it's good that I think then we funded pretty much everybody who asked for something, and we're still coming in at a pretty good number. So
Yeah. Yep.
that was my only comment.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion on the motion for 400,000 from surplus?
David, BK, I've got 3 sheets in front of me, and I'm not sure which one everybody's looking at. Tell me, what is the gross property tax requirement on your sheet?
So the one that I'm looking at, there's a green column, and the figure is 36,088,209.
Okay, that's what I thought. I got it.
Yep. And then at the bottom, you'll see the three different, mill rates,
What is our surplus total today, like the actual number? Do you recall?
As of now, or?
Yeah, as of,
It's about 9 million.
is it not? Okay.
I
was
don't
just
really
trying
have
to
a
get-
number now, really. It's when you look
Just
at what our
ballpark.
630 number is, if we collect all the revenue that we budgeted and spend everything that we budgeted this year, there'd be no change in surplus, really. Our revenues are down this year, so
but the refund from the school is much larger than it typically is.
well, I'm just talking this year, though.
Oh, I see.
I think when we get to June 30th, we are gonna,
Oh, that's right, because
we're gonna eat into that 800,000 of surplus that we budgeted. And we usually don't do that. We usually collect enough. But with interest, income, and I don't know for property taxes, she's going to be able to collect a lot of the back taxes that she's, just because of the COVID and the unemployment and all of that.
But it is about $9 million.
Yes.
Give or take.
And I don't see it changing that much from this year.
That's
Take a hit
helpful.
or,
Yeah.
because we don't have a lot of additional appropriations now. If we additional appropriate for the bridge and other things, it will affect that surplus, so it might go down. But we're still kind of high, 22 point whatever too is
Percent,
Yeah.
a little on the high side.
Now, if that money, that 700, fantasy, I wouldn't say fantasy, but if we got a big chunk of that, I mean, the state was governing it and they're going to keep part of it, I'm sure. But would there be strings attached that we would have to do stuff with that, or would it be, some of that would just be money that we could put away for something, or use as an appropriation? I mean, what are the, any here?
I haven't heard anything. All I can tell you is when the state gave us that 45,000 outright a couple months ago.
Yeah. The CARES Act.
They did not designate anything specific, but they wanted it to be allocated to certain things. And one of those things was police regular time pay all the way back to March. So we've already got that 45,000 spent in that prior year, so I didn't have to track it when I got it.
Probably the school one is for HVAC to make the classrooms proper for the children and all, but I mean, it's hard to say how a municipality would have to actually spend this on stuff unless we built a new transfer station building.
So Hartford's not good about telling you how to spend the money that they give you?
They probably don't want to track it. You know what I mean? I don't know that.
But like with LoSiP, we've got to tell them exactly and stuff. I just wonder, it'd be a pleasant task, but if we had to really spend it on stuff within a certain period of time, we could figure it out. But
Didn't the article in the day, though, state that it was subject to some uses and some not? It's just not a free check.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned like sewer projects and a few other things like that. No, whatever. But according to what I recall in the paper, there was some restriction.
Yeah, it was in last Sunday's paper. And there were certain things that they helped, but nothing definitive, and you haven't found out anything official.
Yeah, we'll have to wait on it.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it might be a pleasant surprise that, maybe it can help fund some of these things that we can deem as COVID related, that are good for the community.
Like body cams.
Body cams.
Tennis courts.
Or body cam storage.
Right.
All right, we've got a motion on the table to authorize the use of $400,000 from surplus for the 21-22 fiscal year budget. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. Very good, the motion carries. Thank you. All right. So we have, and let me just ask folks, Michelle had circulated minutes for the special meetings. What I got were just the agendas. I don't know.
That was the second time I sent it. I sent it like back around the 7th or 8th, right after the meeting. And I just gave that as a refresher that that's what we were doing. But we should have already had those.
So, folks on the phone, Michelle just reminded me, she sent the minutes previously, probably a week after the meeting of the 2nd, which makes sense because you have to post them, at least drafts. Does everyone have the minutes for the special meetings that were held on the 2nd of March?
Yes.
Okay. And those two meetings, the first of which was to fill the vacancy of Janet Sturgis, the second of which was to fill the vacancy of Jude Reed. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 at 6:45 to fill the vacancy of Janet Sturgis. Garvin.
Second.
Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes for the 6:45 meeting on March 2nd, 2021, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, those are approved. Thank you. Second set of minutes. This is special meeting March 2nd, 2021 at 6:50 to fill the vacancy of Board of Finance alternate member Judith Reed. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Russell?
So moved.
Anna, second. Yep.
The only modification on both these is Jude Reed's name should be crossed off.
Yeah.
She was in attendance, but she was not at that time an alternate, and she's listed as an alternate.
Okay. That's a factual change. So thank you. All right, so Russell and Anna. Any discussion on the minutes for the 6:50 meeting, March 2nd, 2021? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Very good, the motion carries. Thank you for that. Final item that I've got on my agenda are the meeting minutes from March 9th, which I do have right here. So this is the regular meeting, March 9th. To get things kicked off, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Garvin.
So moved.
On a second. Okay. Any discussion? I'll give folks a couple of minutes to read through if they haven't already. Okay. Any discussion or comments or changes? These are the March 9th minutes. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for March 9th, 2021, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. I had a single page. Do we have a single page for the agenda? Okay. Great. I've got nothing else. Anybody else? Great. All right.
Hi, this is Mary. Hi, this is Mary. Dave.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, I had trouble getting on earlier. Is this an opportunity for me to talk about the sidewalk project?
Mary Jo, what do you, Tim had reviewed the sidewalk project a little bit in terms of having some excess funds and that sort of thing. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
Yep.
Which sidewalk
We had a
project?
meeting.
Wait a minute, Ferry Road or Soundview?
This would be Soundview.
Okay, sure.
The committee had a meeting right before your meeting, so I'm sorry that if I missed all the particulars that you discussed, but I'm sure Tim told you we came under budget for the grant.
Yep.
And it's our presumptive bidder. Tim has to send in the paperwork to the DOT for us to get approval. But part of this process is, as Tim and I talked yesterday, a fee that requires the town to support the project, the engineering, design services during construction. And in October, we had received a budget amendment, and I've listened to the meetings. I know Tim kind of discussed it with you guys off and on through the year, but it was a time and material budget of $15,000, and it can't come out of the reimbursement. It's not part of the grant. So the committee met today. Since we were under the grant, we were thinking we might be able to do some of the things we cut out of the project to save money, and that's a good thing. But the time and materials budget for this DSC group to do this preparation, which Tim had told me some time ago he supported DSC doing this, is $15,000. Allowing for some contingency now that we're able to do a full project. We were asking Tim to go to you for $19,000 to cover BSC for this work, which primarily is design services during construction, like shop drawing review, change order preparation, design revision. Making sure that the construction management firm bills are correct before Tim signs off on that, before Nicole gets those invoices. The things I guess a town engineer would do if we had one, but this is a requirement of the grant to have this service. I'm sorry I missed that.
Yeah,
Tim explained that.
Yeah, Tim did explain that, Mary Jo, and the conclusion that we reached was we had budgeted $400,000 for the project for an expenditure. Mm-hmm. So regardless the reimbursement, the $400,000 had been approved, and we're going to be able to use that $400,000 to cover that $19,600 or whatever the figure was. No worries about the non-reimbursable element of the Soundview project, the sidewalk project.
Oh, okay. So that's really helpful. So I just want to make sure that there won't be a problem with these invoices come in. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But Mary Jo, you said something about putting items back in that were taken out on this project at a meeting?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Eddie.
Did you say the committee met and were talking about putting some items back into the project that had been taken out?
Yeah, the committee throughout the last year, we were working really hard to find areas we could make sure we came in under $400,000 grant, plus the cost of the engineering that we knew were reimbursable, $15,000.
Okay.
Basically, we knew we had $185,000 to play with. So there were areas where today we were talking about the transportation center was initially on the table, and that's a bus stop basically across from the church on Shore Road. We sort of scrapped that. That might be something we can do with the reimbursement. So that's really what I was talking about, Nancy.
Okay.
Thank you, because if we go up to our $400,000, which we hope we can do, or basically $385,000, I want to make sure that the town is aware that there'll still be this time and materials budget from BSC for $15,000 to 15 to 19,000 for their time.
Yep. Yeah, and Tim did mention the possibility of relooking at some sort of bus structure down in that area. So, okay,
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Jo. All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Olson, seconded by Mr. Russell. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Great.
So Dave, I'll redo everything. I'll redo everything, put the new numbers in, make sure it's what we think.
Yeah.
And then, wait, when I'll see the assessor on her numbers,
Yeah.
the school. And then I usually do help with the slide presentation, if you want me to do that as well. That's up to you.
We'll sit and figure that out.
Okay, because that's easy for me to do.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
We can work together. I don't want to burden you too much.
Okay, no worries.
Beast of burden over here.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much. We got through it all.
Well done.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Michelle.